unusual thing happened, unsolicited and unremembered. Cornell sent me an acceptance letter saying you're to enter the class of 1951, this is 1947, and to get myself up to Ithaca, New York. So I turned to my father, I was still at home, and I said, would you take me to Ithaca, New York? I showed him the letter, and he said, oh, that must be a mistake. The only thing in Ithaca is a gun company. It's probably Utica. When I went to register, they told me I was in the College of Engineering, the School of Civil Engineering. To which I said, that's wrong. I applied for architecture, architectural engineering. And the registrar said, oh, we don't have that, so we put you in engineering. So I decided to look around and find out where this College of Architecture was, and learned that there was an acting dean named Tom Mackesy. And I managed to find Tom Mackesy walking across the quadrangle in front of Lincoln Hall, which was then civil engineering, and introduced myself and told him my story, that I really want to be in his college. But you should understand that I don't plan to practice architecture and get a license and all of this. I just want to have the freedom to study a lot of things, because true, I'm interested in building things, but they're not necessarily houses or office buildings. I want to create I want to be as involved in project management. And he turned to me and quietly said, young man, we don't train people in the College of Architecture, we educate them. And if you understand that, I think we can work something out. And I thought that was good advice. Following the dedication of the Wilson synchrotron, which was 1967-68, President Corson asked me to work in the facilities area, because there were a lot of buildings planned and authorized by the trustees. Two buildings which are major buildings were the Ewers Hall and the Johnson Museum. A number of them were started. For example, North Campus dorms was a major project. Campus store is one. Other buildings followed were major renovation of university halls and West Campus. We built on Lower Alumni Field, we built Corson Mud and biotechnology building. And the state funded a new Comstock Hall, the Ewers Library, with the addition that we placed under the building, looking out at the west. In a parallel role, I was also the director of the project to build the Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico. Basically, what I've done with my life is I found myself in areas where I was given responsibilities to run projects. Though I never intended to practice architecture in a professional sense or get licensed, one of the dividends I got out of my years at Cornell in architecture was a sense of design, and I find today that my greatest interest as a avocation is designing and building my own furniture. How did I get into building furniture? Well, when we got married, we had tastes that clearly outpaced our pocketbook. I thought the greatest pieces of chair in the world was the Barcelona chair by Mies van der Rohe, and I had to have one of those. And when I found out what Knoll was selling them for, I decided I would never own one unless I built them. This house is a project that I've had in my mind for many years. I actually started working on it probably 5 years ago. The house is very comfortable. We like the lake living. And I would expect we're about 90% complete. It'll never be truly complete. The cabinet work in the bathrooms and areas I intend to do myself in my own cabinet shop. You get confidence thanks to the kind of education we got. You can try anything. And of course the education goes on forever. A day doesn't go by that you don't learn something new.
The one class I really did well in school is with mechanical drawing, and I really got to like drafting. And then I decided that the school I wanted to go to was Cornell. And why? Well, they had a school of architecture that helped, and they had a good art school. And one of my best friends from my high school football days was the safety man on the Ivy League championship team at Cornell. The magazine invited me up, and I brought some of my drawings up to show him and what have you. And he said, he asked me during the interview, what did I really want to do with my life besides being an architect? And I said I wanted to play fullback for the New York Giants. And anyway, he thought that was cute. And he said, well, he said, I'm not going to accept a fullback for the New York Giants, but I will accept you because you're a veteran, and I've lost all the veterans from the Second World War have all graduated and gone. I was actually interested in school besides playing football, and I took as many art courses as I could get. The biggest one that was a major help to me was sculpture and Victor Colby. He was such a great guy, and he led me through all kinds of things that he thought I should try. Work with glass, work with wood, draw, leading into forms and what have you. I think his first name was John, but Mahoney. I took art courses with him. I remember somebody telling me a story about he designed and built his own house, and they went to see him one day, and there was a strong wind, and they heard this voice, I'm up here, I'm up here. And he was laying flat, holding the roof down on his house. He has an incredibly dry humor, but he was really terrific. People ask me when they meet me for the first time, they say, well, what kind of architecture do you do? And I usually look at them and I quib, good. And then I smile, and then they smile, and then I tell them I do projects that I think I'd like, so there's no particular, I mean, I do residential projects, but I don't do residential projects. Probably my life gets separated into three, my professional life gets separated into maybe three or four things. The first one was working in really the poorest neighborhood in Hartford. John Filer said, Jack, why don't you come to Aetna? All of a sudden, I was Aetna's architect. I just never ran out of projects to do. And then finally did their education center, which was a $40 million kind of hotel and classroom building. This is a power plant that I did for Aetna a cogeneration plant. And this is a photograph, two photographs actually, that I made a collage out of. One looking at the plant, approaching it from the east, and one approaching it from the west. And anyway, it always makes me smile when I look at it. When it was first built, adults really hated it. It's right across the street from a residential neighborhood, a traditional historic neighborhood. And I tried to make it look like a toy. And when it was first built, people, adults, really hated it. And children really loved it. And little by little, I think the children have just trained the adults to like it too. Nobody ever complains anymore. 875 Asylum, Watkinson. The carousel in Bushnell Park, right across the way from where I live in the condo, is probably the best known building that I've done. The carousel that itself was built in Coney Island, I think somewhere around 1915, and never was used at Coney Island. It was used first in Albany, and I brought it there, brought it back, and designed the enclosure. Tracy Cameron, who was working for me at the time, designed all the stained glass windows, which are the Four Seasons. It's a very popular place in Hartford. Last category is art, and I've never stopped painting or drawing. Sometimes it was out of frustration that I'd start painting at 11 o'clock at night because I couldn't possibly go to sleep because something was frustrating me with the architectural work. What I think is important is to have things to do that you really love doing. And if I don't think that's a possibility, then I don't do it. I'll be 71 years old this month. I feel the same way I felt when I was 41 or 31 or what have you. I think I bring the energy and good feelings toward my projects, and I've been quite successful.
I was very much interested in art. I loved to draw pictures all the time, grade school, doing little sculptures, drawings, whatever. And people picked up on that. I also had quite an interest and an ability in mathematics. And it was always, any aptitude test I took said, well, you put art and mathematics together, you've got architecture. Cornell really had some special aspect to it. One coming on campus couldn't help but feel a special place. And Dean Detweiler, I mentioned Professor Henry Detweiler, who was Associate Dean of the college at that time, took a real personal interest. And I remember going around the facilities with him and my family, and I just, by the time I had finished that visit, I knew Cornell was my first choice. And I've never regretted that choice. That really was from day one. The sculpture program in particular, and the fine arts, Jack Squire's sculpture programs were really strong influences on my development as well. Jack had the interest in more monumental sculptures, and Professor Squire created a sandbox in his studio, and a bunch of us, Bob Newman, Ted Graves, Fred Biebesheimer, and others got together, and we designed, and Bob and Nowdy, designed little plaster pieces at scale that we knew would be constructed out in the Cornell Plantations area at a site that Professor Squire, Jack Squire, was obtaining at that time. Turned out to be a little knoll behind a barn, a place that was so removed that nobody would ever notice it or care about it. So we could do anything we want, the university said. Nobody cared about that spot, and it was hands-on. We did everything from excavate the foundations, dig the ditches, get the reinforcing rod, pour the foundations. Some of our pieces, my piece, was all just cast in place, so I built the formwork, and then the ready-mix truck delivered. Then we hoisted the concrete up in buckets and poured it in. Other pieces were cast in slabs on the ground, and then a crane was hired to come in and lift them up and place them into their sockets in the ground. But we all learned a lot from that project. We have projects with the MBTA system. We're working on the Kenmore station right now. Or the business client. We have projects with GTE Internetworking, now known as Genuity, and a number of other corporate clients and biotech companies that are strong in this particular region and for whom we've done work, such as Biogen and Genzyme. We have projects that we've done in China, in the Middle East, in the Mediterranean. One of the projects we worked on was the Hotel Pevero on Sardinia, and we were working with the Aga Khan's organization. The Navy supply warehouses for all of the materials that were put into shipbuilding, heavy cruisers and the like. Those were abandoned, and we did a recycling project to transform those buildings from their former use into what is now the headquarters for Massachusetts General Hospital's biotechnical research. Kenmore Station is the one next to Fenway Park, and also at the entrance to Boston University. It was decided that the surface area, the whole of Kenmore Square, should be improved as well, and so there has been added an urban design part to that project to create a park as well as the entrance to the station. And so we are in the process of transforming an area that had really become sort of downtrodden. For the Franklin Park Zoo in Boston, we designed one of the foremost tensile structures in the States. It's a great steel frame with tensile fabric-coated pavilion, which allows the African tropical forest animals to roam freely in this great space, and yet the fabric allows natural sunlight to come through and support the vegetation. I've realized really what a great central role Cornell has played in my life. The College of Architecture really provided a fantastic background for not only the practice of architecture, but many other aspects of life's experiences as well.
And it's at that point when I was trying to figure out my career. I thought I was going to be an artist. And then at my senior year, I had one of those sit-downs with yourself and saying, am I really going to make it as an artist? And the answer was no. So I chose architecture almost as a, well, it's sort of like being an artist and getting some money. I chose Cornell because it was a 5-year program. Most of the other schools like Yale were 7 or 8 year programs. And I went to Cornell and I was very happy there. And there were a bunch of fires that year. I don't know if you remember them. A lot of, they were sort of the Black League, and they had made a fire. Each fire spelt out the word Atlanta in the end. And this was all on the Ithaca campus. So there was a lot of turmoil going on. And ours was one of those fires. And so we were burned out. And I remember running downstairs with the smoke just in my underwear. And I ran across the street to the restaurant, which was open, and the guy says to me, you kids. I'm yelling at them, fire, fire. So we lost everything. I had a firm with 2 other partners, an architecture firm. It was called Hernandez, Jawitz, and Eichhorn, and my partners were very good designers, and my job was basically to get the work, and I was getting pharmaceutical work, and so we dissolved about 3 years ago, and that was the last I've been doing so-called professional architecture, and I'm putting it all in this land. I accumulated 7 lots, and we built the roads. I'm going to be putting my first concrete in next month. Building it. When I call it a homestead, it's more than just a house. It's got a house, it's got a barn, it's got a wood shop, it's got a guest house, it's got greenhouses. I have all the drawings here, and I'm really excited about it. And it's probably the architecture, most architecture I've been excited about all my life. This is my indoor air quality business. I've been doing this for 7 years now, and my client base has grown considerably. I have a 5-year contract with Grand Central Terminal with Metro North Railroad to do all of Grand Central. I do the cruise lines. I originally were doing all of the Princess ships. Now I do all of Royal Caribbean, and so ships are a good part of my business. I do a lot of Pfizer's work, all of their research facility in Groton. I do most of Yale Medical School's work. New York is a place I have a lot of business, and it's my architectural background that has led clients to trust me, which is why if somebody else, as just a salesman, was doing it, might not have the trust. For the last 5 years, I've been making money and throwing it into this property I have in New Hampshire to build a homestead where I hope to eventually, now that my sons are grown and in college, and the college is almost paid for, and I won't have those big ticket items. I bought my pickup truck. I got those things already, and now I'm trying to buy all my capital things so that, you know, you may call it a retirement, but in a way it's going to be something that I can give as a legacy to my children or grandchildren. So that's how I see my life right now. I see I'm just starting again.